This is a clouds weather alert.
Good late Tuesday, early Wednesday, meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving you a look at this current temperatures across the region. It is a chilly night out there, so I hope you bundled up. I hope you're taking those freeze precautions here because we are seeing some freezing temperatures here across the region. In fact, on my thermometer right now, east of Stark, we're sitting at 25.7 degrees. It's a more rural area, but still, that is pretty impressive here. About the coldest year, if not the coldest year we've seen all season here so far. So definitely, again, hope you're bundled up here. Now, we're in alert mode. There's a lot going on here, both, locally to some degree, but more so nationally. We are very concerned here in the meteorology enterprise tonight about what is going on in Southern California. We have a terrible wildfire situation taking place. There's just multiple wildfires in progress there in some highly populated areas. A lot of folks are being urged to evacuate here. They need to. It's a matter of life and death here right now at this late hour, 10:55 or so Pacific time. So you can see on the radar imagery some of the smoke from some of the fires, but then the wind numbers, now they're not, at this moment at least, showing up quite as high in some spots as they have at points, but we got to be really careful. These are still very nasty numbers, and they're expected to increase here as we're looking ahead. Some of the guidance really indicating that. So a volatile wildfire situation there in Southern California tonight. Thoughts and prayers to everybody impacted there. And let me just go ahead and pull up the graphics here at this point, I think, because I do have a graphic in here talking about what the situation is like here in terms of what people need to be doing. This is from the National Weather Service. And evacuating from wildfires, it's just important to always stay aware of the environment. I know, if you're in an area there in California, have family and friends there, it's important for them to monitor things all night, have a way to be waking on up here if there's an order to evacuate, because things can change rapidly here in this scenario. A lot of folks already told they need to leave, but there's other folks that may need to leave here all of a sudden. So make sure you're staying informed there. This is, maybe one of the worst wildfire situations we've ever seen in Southern California. This could be a national tragedy here. So we need folks to be just heeding all this information as just a really, really bad scenario. Important that you're just ready to go here if the evacuation is ordered for your area out there in Southern California. And, of course, just, if it is ordered, you need to evacuate. I mean, we're getting this crazy gust got a gust to 60 miles an hour around Burbank, California. That is really high for this time of night. And when you have wildfires in progress, that is just devastating. I mean, we have trees down in a lot of places, power poles down in a lot of places. It almost kind of sounds like, based on the reports, and hopefully somehow they're not quite as bad when we kind of get a better handle on it. I mean, I think they're going to be really, really terrible, maybe even worse than we realize, but it's kind of like a fire Armageddon type situation here right now. That's how bad the reports are in Southern California right now. I mean, we're seeing the power outage numbers just drastically increase there as well. I know this map, I'm going to pull up here, poweroutage.us. Let me go ahead and jump on over there right now. So we're going to switch over to the other source here as the situation does transpire in just a moment. As we just continue to watch things very carefully here. I know we just have so much going on in this set of circumstances. Thoughts and prayers to everybody out there, obviously. Here's a look at the Paradise.us map as we continue the coverage right now. I know you can see almost 250,000 folks without electricity, and most of those in the highly populated zone here. I mean, you see some out to the east, in Bernardino County, 13,648 customers without electricity, but then over toward Los Angeles County, LA County, over 200,000 folks without electricity. You don't see that very often at all hurricane force gusts with multiple fires in progress here that are spreading rapidly. This is a nightmare situation. Hope folks are heeding the evacuation orders. The images from the local affiliates out there are just terrible to see. Again, we'll pull this up here. Los Angeles County, LA County, almost 220,000 customers without electricity at this point in time. It's just not good here, not good at all what they're doing with out that way as the situation does escalate there. So, again, just continuing to watch that. You see the state of California here with some of those outages so significant, so severe here. And let me go ahead, though, and I'll move away from this source right now. We'll look back at our local temperatures once again. We have a freeze warning for a lot of places here tonight. So, it's a nasty scenario here overall. And, though it, pales into comparison with what they're seeing out west. Let me pull this up. You see all these different numbers with some of these higher end wind reports. Some of these, 95 miles an hour. I'll click on it. It's for 99 miles an hour there in LA County in the last couple of hours. This report here. So not good. You see around Malibu, we have this big concern. We have big problems around Santa Monica as well as we look on in here. Just not a good scenario at all whatsoever. A nightmare situation from a wildfire perspective. Now, you see our readings temperature-wise here. I know out there we'll kind of look. You see they're a good bit warmer. These aren't, temperatures that are too bad. If it wasn't for what's going on. But we have the wind, just terrible wind, terrible fires breaking out. It's been dry out there too. Nightmare. But you see 29 degrees right now in our area toward Williston, 28 around Cross City. Palaca's at 28, 25 at Cecil Field in Jacksonville. I'm here just 26 degrees. A lot of parallels sometimes between Cecil Field and that reading and where I'm at here is the Stark rural area, more open per se, like what you see up there. So, again, just continuing to watch everything. Let me go ahead and jump now to a freeze graphic. Now, the Weather Service, they don't issue a freeze warnings officially anymore, so it makes things a little more confusing, to be quite honest. But I hope you're protecting your people out there, your pets, your plants, your pipes. Dangerously cold for portions of our region, long duration below freezing. It adds to the impact. So I hope you're, running that water here. Make sure those pipes are protected. We're gonna have reports here, tonight and or tomorrow night of folks pipes bursting. We don't want to hear about that. We don't want to see that. So make sure you've taken, those precautions, last second precautions. This can, entail dripping that water here at this point in time. As you're seeing, information about just using extreme caution with space heaters, because that can be a life and death scenario because of the fire risk in that regard. And then late week, there is a low chance here of mixed precip in southern Georgia, mainly our northern fringes like Albany over toward maybe like Douglas there, something in that type of region. You could have some mixed precip, which would probably not be snow. It wouldn't look like. You never know, of course. But if it were to happen maybe around Friday, it would probably be a mix of sleet and really that freezing rain. So, it's that ice in the form of the freezing rain that can cause some problems. Nothing like what we see nationally, but, it could be a little bit, which we don't really see around our area. And it's possible around like Albany, Douglas, Quitman, somewhere like that, as we're looking there. I don't want to say Quitman, I mean Quitman County, not the city of Quitman necessarily, but again, just be mindful of that here as we're looking about the scenario. A low chance of mixed precip against sleet. That's not as big of a deal. That's like small hail in some ways. Not exactly. Different processes involved in some ways. But we're talking about a scenario here where the freezing rain would cause some slick roads, maybe the bridges, the overpasses, if that were to come in to play here. Not a guarantee, but we're going to watch it. Now let's go ahead and pull up here the national storyline, which is much more concerning as we're dealing with that. You do see Moderate winter impacts are likely at the minimum, not major ones there. Southeast Oklahoma toward Little Rock, and then toward Memphis there, that vicinity, but even Nashville, Jonesboro, Arkansas, Huntsville, Alabama, could have some pretty big problems. Even Atlanta, Georgia here too. I know this graphic didn't see that quite as much here, but Atlanta, Georgia could have big problems as well. Dallas, Texas as well, right on the edge of some big problems. So this is a graphic there from the National Weather Service and the Weather Prediction Center there in College Park, Maryland. Nasty situation there and a big story, and we're going to be on the tail end of that. Of course, we'll have some rain here. You see the next 7-day rainfall forecast. You see more to the west there. They're going to have some ice concerns. Even, I'll look back at this, even in northern Louisiana. But you see further south, just the overall precip, totals here. You see toward the coast there, we're going to have some rainfall coming into play in the inner area. Tallahassee there, about a ½ inch of rain. See a little bit less around historic Gainesville here. But something that's worth noting as we're looking at things, and now a couple things as we look at this map here. I want to just send my thoughts and prayers out to all the victims of the New Orleans terror attack. Pretty much 1 week here from a couple hours from now. Horrific event. So many innocent lives lost there. Just thoughts and prayers to all the victims and their families here. A lot of injured as well there that are trying to make that recovery as we look ahead. And then I'll go ahead and switch maps actually for the next storyline, which is a much lighter topic. I know college basketball in full swing. My Seminoles, they're okay this year, but do have to commend the rival Gators here out of Alachua County as they're playing really, really good. The SEC, unlike in football, we've talked about it a lot on here before. There's a lot of serious stuff to talk about, but this is a less serious topic. We talked about before how SEC football last couple seasons has really been overrated. SEC basketball this season, I don't think right now it's overrated at all. The non-conference has been incredible there by so many teams. And you saw Florida beat #1 Tennessee by just so many points there. So I'm a FSU grad, a Seminole fan, of course, but we gotta give credit where credit is due. Now, the Gators did lose at Kentucky on Saturday. They scored 100 points, though. But today, Tennessee, #1 in the country, they did not score very much at all. It was like, maybe in the 40s. That's incredible defense. But Florida, this could be something where they're making the Final Four. What a season for them. And there's quite a few good, stories in college basketball where you could have some elite teams. As we're looking at things. And as you think of college basketball, real quick, we mentioned this in our severe coverage last week there. But for those of you guys maybe didn't realize what happened, the voice of March Madness in the studio, Roy, and this election, so Greg Gumbel passed away. My thoughts and prayers to his family as well during this difficult time. What a broadcaster there in sports. As we go ahead and now see that planning forecast, you can see the cold conditions here. You see 55 for the high on that Wednesday, 52 on that Thursday. Warming up some, but you see 33 on Friday, and maybe some mixed precip in South Georgia. Again, Douglas, Albany, some of those areas, maybe Nahana. We'll see, but it wouldn't be that much, but it is worth noting any of that in our area is, very unusual overall, but we're kind of overdue for it in a way in some of those zones. But you can see here the warming trend tries to take hold, but it really doesn't come into play too much as we're below average here overall in the next 7 days. So again, as we're looking at this, you can see the rain chances here Friday and Saturday. That's where we could have some mixed precip in South Georgia. We were kind of, thinking it might be a situation where we had some of that more into our Florida counties, as we were looking last week for this week. At this point, it doesn't really look like that, but we'll monitor it. You never know. Maybe we'll get lucky and get some, rogue flurries on the back side of things. It's not completely impossible, but we'll have to wait for the high-res models to kind of show us that. But as we kind of look at things, again, you see our trends. These are some cold temperatures. I hope you bundled up. I look at my thermometer right now. We're at 26 here, pretty much 25.8 east of Stark. So it is chilly out there. We're in alert mode. You have big winter storm to the west, and then really the California, Southern California wildfire scenarios, breaking out in a terrible, terrible way. I mean, reports of trees down everywhere out there. I'll kind of pull that map back on in here, I think, at this point. Another look at that on our other source. So, you just see all these different reports. This doesn't really necessarily have to smoke, read a review up, but you see the temperature contrast there in the mountain regions, but that's not the big story. Most of these areas are warm and unfortunately very, supportive of the wildfire disaster that has taken place here. I mean, these dew points are so low. The winds are so high, the temperatures are warm enough for a disaster. Those winds there, the Santa Ana winds, and it's the overall meteorological pattern, one of the worst we've ever seen for wildfires, and it's sadly coming into play there in Southern California in a terrible, terrible way. As we're looking at things, as we're tracking the overall scenario, as we kind of zoom on out, there have been some questions about whether they'll be able to play the college football playoff game Thursday night Friday night around Dallas. There between the Ohio State Buckeyes and Texas Longhorns is inside, but there could be some travel concerns. Hopefully, the road to be safe enough for people to get there, but not a complete guarantee. I have this in a hypersensitive mode, and there's not as much wintry precip around North Texas as that was so, and I was just trying to see if I could somehow get really lucky and catch a flurry around here. I turned it down, but as you see here, South Florida, it's in the low 50s. It's going to be the Orange Bowl Thursday night. Conditions right now looking okay for that. I'll just kind of double check the details, but I know that's going to be Penn State against, of course, Notre Dame. And looking like Thursday night there, maybe, a little cool for South Florida, really. But not seeing precip in the forecast down there. So maybe, 50s as we're looking there. I'll do the hour by hour behind the scenes. But, that's nothing too crazy. It's outdoors unlike the Cotton Bowl and the national title game. But yeah, it's in the 50s. That's a little cool, but nothing that they can't handle. That's for sure. As they're looking down there, northern teams, 50s. That's nothing too crazy. I know, of course, Notre Dame there in New Orleans, out ahead of their playoff game, and it got postponed. Terrible, terrible terrorist attack there in New Orleans. And thoughts and prayers go out to the victims' families during this very, very difficult time. And also, I know the football coach for Georgia, in an unrelated incident, his father passed away after falling there, according to media reports, in New Orleans, out ahead of the game. So the head coach for Georgia, Kirby Smart's father, passing away in New Orleans there. So thoughts and prayers out to him and his family during this difficult time. So as we go ahead and see here, we will have to watch North Georgia for some concern here coming up, some winter weather danger. As we look ahead, I know right now there's no winter storm watch for Atlanta. Probably going to happen though soon. But Dallas and Little Rock and areas further out toward the west here, that's a different story. There's already a winter storm watch in play for Dallas, Little Rock, Memphis there, Tupelo. So that's something to be watching here nationally as we do look ahead and toward the timeline. As we monitor the situation there, again, we'll monitor just a terrible wildfire situation in California. My thoughts and prayers out to everybody impacted in this. Just heed your evacuation orders there. We're already hearing media reports of injuries there, so not good at all in Southern California. Just not very good things happening to start out the new year 2025. That winter storm earlier on toward last past weekend, it would prove deadly as well. Media reports, and we had fatalities in Missouri. We had, problems in neighboring states as well. So, again, just a really bad situation. I know we did get lucky in that we didn't have severe weather come into play on Monday across our area where it could have. We had a low severe weather risk, and we didn't end up getting any warnings after Papa 1, so that was good, at least. But we're just going to continue to watch things, continue to track things here. If we get the pattern warm up just a little bit toward, late weekend, it could be more, instead of the wintry precip in our far northern counties, if we get things pushed a little further north, instead we could have a severe threat in our southern counties. So maybe we'll get lucky and not get it either, because, but even though I would like to see snow flurries, we don't really want to see ice, we don't want to see sleet. I mean, yeah, that's not good. I mean, sleet's one thing, ice is actually the biggest, problem. You do not want ice. Folks, friends, family in Missouri can attest to that here, looking back over the last several days. It's not been good on the roads. Power is still out in some places. So we're going to be here in the Weather Center for you. Let me see if there's any questions or comments on any of this. I know I did share some links to some coverage of the wildfire situation in California. It's not really something that would be, that I could really talk about extensively here. We don't have the camera side, like we have Florida 501 camera. Don't really have, stuff that we can just kind of stay on for hours and hours with. It would be pretty difficult. So just sharing some of the local coverage there. I do think that there were some power issues I saw at the ABC station in LA, according to social media reports. So I know if you search YouTube there, there's plenty of coverage links there. From the different LA affiliates. I mean, even some of the cable networks simulcasting coverage here. I know News Nation was simulcasting KTLA's coverage from the local affiliate. So it's not been a good start to 2025. We're a weekend and we've already had national simulcast because things are so bad at local affiliate coverage. Last week, New Orleans, the terrorist attack there, the terrible, terrible scenario. And now this week, the wildfire situation, requiring more simulcast of local affiliates to the nation because, we had that national tragedy last week. And I fear this will probably be another national tragedy this week here as we're looking at things. I hate to be all, gloom to start a new year, but things are not starting off in a good way. Very serious in Southern California tonight. Of course, there's the different platforms I'm on. Facebook there, Twitter /X at Cloud Casey, YouTube at Cloud Weather, Twitch Cloud Weather, and Cloud.com. And you have the interactive radar there. You can look at some of the model guidance to that. I mean, just use caution with that because they're just going to be run of things if you're really getting deep into it. But it's going to be chilly around here. I mean, window up, 25.6 right now. East of Stone, that is very cold rural area, but, it's about the coldest, if not the coldest we've had all season. As I pull up the graphics one more time, let me take this marketing information away so I can pull this up so you can see it in full. And you can see it's about the coolest forecast you see. At least we don't have highs in the 40s for most of our area. Granted, a few of you, struggling to get to 50 here as we look, but this is definitely some chilly air. That was wind chill the factor in parts of our area. We've had some cold weather advisories around for the first time. Those are just a replacement of the wind chill advisory, but the freeze warnings are the bigger concern now. We don't have the hard freeze warnings anymore, but we are seeing hard freezes. Like where we're at, that's a hard freeze, 25.6. Anything below 27 really is a hard freeze, and that's when your pipes could burst. Like now, they could burst now here in some of our area. So you really need to take this seriously. Some of our, more urban areas aren't getting that cold, to maybe have the pipes burst, but some spots are, like where we're at. So make sure you're running that water there. Dripping it is what I mean by that. Just make sure you have some flow in there. Otherwise, things will kind of become solid in there, and then they could just burst. It's just, unfortunately, it's not something where we have the label for it anymore. I mean, it's a national thing. I don't think it's anything local. It's just the whole weather service as an entity there across the country took that away because a lot of folks don't really worry about freeze alerts as much because they already get it so much anyway. They don't even issue them. But they want to make things simpler for people to understand it better. And I didn't think people, I guess, understood hard freeze versus freeze. But I know around here, and at least not as much the Tallahassee area, but the Jackson area, it's been something that, going back, when I was a kid, you'd watch TV and you'd hear the meteorologists talk about hard freeze. I'm sure George was doing that. George Winterland was doing that. Talking about how dangerous some of these cold temperatures can be at times. So, the point is, it can be something that can be kind of helpful here. as we're looking at things, as we're tracking the overall weather situation. And the cold weather advisory, cold weather warnings, if we get to that point, that's a little bit different because that's not necessarily, telling you, something that is, too different. I mean, because it's about the wind chill and it's about bundling up. So that's okay. It's just, I mean, it's trying to make things a little bit easier for people to understand. But I'd prefer hard freeze warnings to get issued. I mean, sometimes they can put in the text of these, and it's just. I mean, honestly, they didn't even have some of the readings getting as cold here as we're looking, but they did mention hard freeze conditions were possible in the text of it. It's just not a separate warning anymore because that ability got taken away to make sure people understood things better. They didn't think that people understood the difference between a hard freeze and a freeze. So, as we go ahead and look here, again, hard freeze is something where you have pipes. That's the difference really is. Your pipes, regular freeze, just barely a freeze. You don't necessarily have to run those pipes. And I didn't mean to kind of jump around there on this, but we're just going to kind of go back through this, I guess, and run it like this. But you can kind of see here that hard freeze danger. I'm talking about the pipes. I mean, that's when you have those in danger. You already have to worry about people, pets, and plants when it's like 31, 32. But when you're at 27 or below, that's, when the pipes really are at danger of bursting, and then you're going to have a problem, a big mess on your hands. So that's kind of storyline there as we look at it. Again, just continuing to give you guys the latest on all of that here as we're looking at things, as we're tracking the overall situation. So that probably pretty much does it here for tonight. I just thank you so much for tuning in. California is just getting it so hard. I fear we're going to hear some terrible things as the hours, go forward on us here, and as we, get more information out of there. It could be very sobering to hear what has transpired out there with so many wildfires in the LA metro, that region, Southern California tonight. Just a terrible tragedy out that way. Again, we're going to go ahead and wrap it on up. Stay safe. Have a great night. I'll be back late Thursday with another update on we need to pop back in earlier for some reason here. But again, very cold out there tonight. I hope you bundled up. And just keep watching the weather near Clutter.com as we talked about here. And you can look at different things on that resource. Real quick, I'll see if there's any questions or comments on our source here. At this point, I know it is late, but some people probably watching the scenario out west in Southern California. I don't see anything. But again, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great night. And I'll be back here late Thursday unless we need to pop back in sooner. I know there's Los Angeles affiliates, so there's local, NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, CW. They're working so hard tonight with everything that's going on out there with a terrible tragedy. Southern California, the wildfire is so bad in that area. Santa Monica, you just hear all the different reports out there. So many homes going up in flames. We just hope the human toll, can be as low as it possibly can.